Salmon fishing isn't just some sort of pastime for a brief period during the summer. It's a lifestyle, a relationship with rivers, salmon and friends. It fills your entire existence every day and is with you throughout the year. You are, for better or worse, a salmon angler. Sometimes the enthusiasm of a salmon angler balances dangerously on the border between extreme devotion and madness. A lot of the salmon anglers we're going to meet along the Orkla River have sometime in their careers crossed this border, and an outsider who doesn't fish salmon may think that we should try to find help. But in our madness, we feel that we are the healthiest of all people. We live for salmon fishing and love salmon, enjoying the ultimate pleasure of sitting by a river during a bright summer night. Join us in a journey along the Orkla and meet salmon anglers with very personal relationships to fishing and salmon. Winter has released Orkla from its dark, ice-cold grip, and the light has returned. So with great expectations, we salmon anglers have once more gathered on the 1st of June for the salmon fishing premiere. Sometimes at the start of June, the water's high and cold, sometimes low and warm. Conditions vary and are seldom ideal for a fly fisherman. But a premiere is always a premiere, and June is when you have the best chance of catching a really big fish. The opening day of fishing begins at midnight, with expectant fishermen gathered around fires along the river to warm themselves and to talk about salmon fishing. We're going to follow the start of the salmon season on the lower reaches of the Orkla. Fishing starts on the stroke of midnight, but the obligatory draw must be made to ensure a fair distribution of where you can start fishing. The river, previously silent and unpeopled, fills with slow-moving silhouettes looking for the first salmon of the season. You often fish together in a larger group of like-minded people, an important part of salmon fishing. The first salmon of the night is always special. You've waited all winter for this moment. It's almost totally dark, the darkness intensifying all your senses. A few days into the first week of fishing, and after a fairly slow start, conditions change radically. Following a day's rain, the low, warm water has been transformed overnight to a fast-flowing river, a huge flood of dark brown water. The day after this flood, the sun breaks through, and we meet Raymond, one of many optimistic fishermen hoping that the rise in water levels will tempt more fish up the river. He's trying to find the right tactics so that he can present his fly to the salmon despite the poor visibility in the water. Raymond is one of many young parents trying to find time for his salmon fishing while juggling with all the demands of daily life. Raymond has to plan all his fishing very carefully in order to use his fishing time as efficiently as possible.
Det som lokker meg til Orkla I juni, det uten tvil storlaksen. Drømmen om den på 15 pluss kan oppfylles her, tror jeg, så derfor kommer jeg tilbake igjen år etter år. Og ikke minst et utrolig bra gjeng som fisker sammen her. Så det junifiske for meg, det alltid Orkla.
This year, the premiere on Orkla means 3 days of fishing for Raymond with his friends. When you've only got 3 days of fishing, and the nights are long and light, the fishing's intensive, with little time for rest.
Ikke noe, stille.
Ikke noe.
Ta en pause.
Pause.
Ja.
Velfortjent.
Takk, takk.
People have been introduced to salmon fishing in many different ways, but the one thing they have in common is that everyone remembers how they first started, and above all, everyone remembers their first salmon.
Min interesse for laksefiske begynte når jeg var ung, 13-14 år. Besøkte min bestemor i Finnmark, og fikk være med da min onkel på fisketurer i Kongsfjordelva. Så fikk jeg låne en fluestang og fikk min første laks på akkurat 1 kilo blank. Og etter det så var jeg solgt. Da har jeg vært både der mange ganger og mange steder rundt i Norge og fisket flue siden. Når jeg fisker laks så tenker jeg på veldig lite. Det noe av det jeg liker med laksefiske og fiske. Det en rolig stund og en del av naturen. Så jeg tenker I hvert fall ikke på jobb.
This June salmon on the Orkla gives the fisherman a good fight. A successful premiere for Raymond. The slow start to the season has dampened the spirits of some fishermen, but this is exactly what's so glorious about salmon fishing. A pull on the line, a hooked fish, and all your despondency is washed away by that feeling of complete joy.
Det som gjør laksefiske spesielt for meg, det er mange ting. Det er jakten, det er det uforutsigbare. Når det fisken tar? Får du den etter flo, får du den ikke? Avhengig av vannstand og så videre. Men det ultimate øyeblikket er jo det sekundet etter fisken tar, hvor man blir en form for vakuum I hodet. Man vet ikke hva som skjer, og det er som verden stopper. Og så kommer en eller annen form for utrass, og da begynner adrenalin å pumpe. Og det er det ultimate delen av laksefiske for meg.
Your body's filled with a wonderful feeling of well-being when the fight's been won. You can enjoy this for a good while.
Grattis! Takk! Bara masken grej. Ja, det var takk. Tusen takk. Så deilig. Ja. Bra.
Yes, skal vi gi oss?
Ja, det gjør det. Jeg tror det.
Holde for I dag.
Kjørt på hardt nå.
Ja. Jeg går ned. Ja.
Lots of people are fascinated by salmon fishing, and every year there are people taking the first step to becoming a salmon angler. Some get their introduction from friends, and some, like Per and Hildegunn, have come to this salmon river to go on a course. They've chosen a short course to get started on casting. And as the course takes place in a salmon pool, there's the chance of taking a salmon.
Så det går bare kjappere, og så har jeg en brå stopp som stopper ganske høyt. Du bare fortsetter den opp.
Nei, vi fikk ideen om å fiske her i Orkla fordi vi var på ferie i området, og ikke så langt vekk herifra på Røros og skal på vei nordover. Og så hadde jeg hørt gjennom der jeg jobber, som også heter Orkla, at det kan være fint å fiske her, så da tok jeg kontakt med noen som har enda mer lokale bekjente her oppe, og fikk tak i både guide og fiskekort og overnatting og det som trengs.
Vi fisker jo alltid, alle ferier, hvor vi reiser i verden, så prøver vi å finne en plass der vi kan fiske. Men jeg har aldri fisket med flåger etter laks. Eller egentlig veldig dårlig til å fiske med flågestang. Så dette var egentlig en veldig bra start. Og så var det, nå skal vi fiske langs hele norskekysten, så dette blir første del med flågefiske, og så blir det havfiske og fjellfiske og litt av alt. Fiskermat heter det kanskje.
The technique of two-handed casting is very different from classic fly casting. You almost need to start from basics. John Eric, the instructor, has fished a lot on the Orkla and is both a good caster and teacher.
Repetasjon. For å få det inn.
If you've got a good teacher, then you can get started after only a day. And while you're practicing on your own, you know that there are fish in the pool. Just here, below the bridge, salmon show themselves regularly. This is a sure sign that there are salmon here and that they're heading up the river. The opportunity's there, but you need to be quick as the salmon don't pause for long, carrying on upstream after a brief rest.
Det som lokker meg med laksefiske jo da å få en fisk som adskillig større enn en vanlig liten fjellaure. Litt mer utfordrende, så det hadde jo vært ekstra stas å fått en storlaks på kroken, men jeg merker jo da at det litt vanskeligere. Jeg har prøvd nå i 1 døgn og vel så det, uten noen særlig napp. Det er lykke, men før eller senere så må han jo bite. Så jeg gir ikke opp, med å være tålmodig, og så får vi håpe med nok tid til at det biter en storlaks på kroken.
Det som lokker med å fiske etter laks jo at det jo kongen. Og jeg har fått masse aure og mye fjellfisk, men det å få en sånn svær laks, det er egentlig en stor drøm. Så må jeg bare ha litt tålmodighet, men jeg håper jo at hvis jeg bare får den teknikken bra nok, så skal jeg få til det.
2 days of casting with a two-handed rod means a lot of hard work, especially if you haven't really perfected the technique and instead are using a bit too much muscle power.
Akkurat nå så begynner armene mine å verke litt, og jeg tror jeg har brukt noen sånne nye muskler som jeg ikke helt var klar over at jeg hadde i disse hendene mine.
Per and Hildegunn have had their first introduction to salmon fishing. Hopefully, they'll return to Orkla for another chance to meet these big salmon. And now, a giant leap from beginners to the professionals. Some people have fished a lot, and then there are the ultimate pros of salmon fishing in the Orkla, such as Trond, something of a legend along the river. He loves salmon fishing, getting interested in it from an early age, together with his twin brother, Knut.
Trivelig å stå her ved Gapahuken og bru, der vi startet å fiske elva for over 30 år siden. Jeg husker veldig godt den steinen som ligger der, så vi ser ned på vattnet her, kommer den. Bare korte gummivaderne våre som vi hadde. Vi hadde ikke vadebuks når vi startet, det var korte sånne gummivadere, og det var Så vidt vi klarte oss å stå oppe her, og ble gjennombløt hver gang. Mamma er illsint. Det var nødvendig for å kaste langt nok.
Og det er også kort, da, vet du.
Ja,
Hvis den ser egentlig hvor kort det er, så utvikler det seg både utstyr og kanskje kasteferdigheter.
Ja, det liker alt. Det kommer veldig godt at du sto, når jeg fisket, så sto du på brua. Og når du fisket, sto jeg på brua. Så jeg er jo en av de som aldri har fått godkjent et eneste fluekast i Orkla. Aldri bra nok strekk på fortømmen, aldri langt nok, aldri i rett retning. Aldri bra nok. Men, sånn er det.
Storlaks er det.
Ja, det ser ut så.
Han skal få leve. Veldig fint. Ja, nå.
Trond is with a larger group of friends on the lower reaches of the river. One of the group hooks a salmon only minutes after Trond has landed his. Their rotational system allows them to fish the beat efficiently and gives them time both to chat about fishing and also to be at the right place at the right time when things happen, as we can see.
Ja, just det. Vill du ha med så vill du ha en. Finns det mycket gubbe? Ja, jag tror det var större. Jaså, jag tycker det. Får jag? Hej då. Ja.
Grattis.
Ja, vi kommer ju precis till. Ja, vad helvete.
Trond has received reports about good fishing on the lower reaches of the river. And even though it's the end of the season, the fishing's still good. Salmon rise throughout the season, passing the lower reaches fairly quickly as they migrate to their spawning grounds. This means that you need to fish intensively and react quickly to all observations of fish. A rising fish could mean that a group of fish are passing through our pool. And that's what Trond has seen. A fresh fish at the edge of the current running into the pool. This is a typical place for fish on the move.
Oi, oi. Jævlen. Oi. Blank, fin fisk. Synk 5 på august, det er ikke så dumt altså. Blank, fin augustlaks. Trivelig, ja.
We're now on the upper reaches of the Orkla, and Trond's fishing in this deep pool, which normally holds fish and has fish running through. Trond always has a plan when fishing, tactics for every cast.
Når jeg fisker i elva da, så prøver jeg hele tiden å plukke ut, tenke på hvor eksakt er det størst sjanse, hvor tror jeg at laksen står hen. Så prøver jeg å tenke på hvordan vil jeg at flua skal komme, hvilken vinkel, hvilken hastighet skal flua ha, for å ha størst mulig sjanse til å bite på akkurat på det, i det flua passerer det punktet, der jeg tror sjansen er størst. Tar et nytt kast, trekker inn fluesnøret, mens jeg da går så ser jeg ut i elva igjen. Tar et nytt valg, hva er største sjansen til at laksen tar flua på den plassen. Da får han et bevisst forhold til fiskeren, han føler at han virkelig er på fisketur. Han gjør noe bevisst for å få laksen til å ta flua, og det blir betydelig mye mer spennende fiske, eller at han bare kaster ut flua og så plutselig biter på. Da er han virkelig på fisketur og gjør noe aktivt for å få laksen til å ta flua.
Trond methodically fishes along the lovely deep tail of the pool, hoping that some new fish have come up. But even the fish that have stayed in the pool usually move towards the tail in the evenings, and can sometimes be found standing in very shallow water. With all the experience he's acquired over the years, Trond has radically changed the philosophy of his salmon fishing.
Da jeg og Knut startet med laksefiske i Orkla for over 30 år siden, så da fisket vi med alt mulig. Vi fisket med sluk og mark og reke, og også da flue i starten. Og hovedfokus nummer 1, det var å få mest mulig laks. Størst mulig, mest mulig. Om laksen var blank eller brun, det hadde ikke noe å si. Og minst like mye glede som det å få laksen på, det var når han kunne ta livet av han. Slå han i hodet med en sten, det var kjempebra. For da kunne vi selge laks, tjene penger på det, og vi var kjempestolte og syntes det var artig. Ettersom vi ble fluefiskere og begynte å bruke mer og mer tid på fluefiske, det å prøve å kaste så bra som mulig, få flua til fisk på riktig måte, så har fokus gått bort ifra det enorme fangsten om å ta livet av laks til å føle gleden ved å kunne få laksen til å bite på. Det er det som er viktig. Det å kunne glede seg over å ha en kjempefin tur i elva, får til kastinga, det er det som virkelig betyr noe. Det er det som gjør at laksefiske er det artigste og fineste man kan holde på med.
But despite all the technical and tactical know-how, no fish are caught tonight. As a salmon angler, you know that sometimes it's very easy, but sometimes you have to work really hard for your catch. And that's the fascination of salmon fishing. Another day and another opportunity to catch salmon. Trond's back on the lower reaches of the Orkla, and once more he can see salmon on the move.
Godt. Den hopper. De er artig selv om de er små. Å, så godt de tar.
Even though we're only a few hours away from the end of the season, it's wonderful to listen to Trond's enthusiasm and his tactical wisdom.
Når jeg kommer til en ny plass i Orkla og fisker, så prøver jeg alltid første runden, så tar jeg den flua og det utstyret som jeg tror er det optimale. På runde nummer 2, så prøver jeg å gjøre stikk motsatt. Da tar jeg, hvis det første valget har vært å fiske med en liten flue, så setter jeg på en stor flue. Har første runden vært fisket med et lett utstyr, altså flytende snøre eller flytsynk 1, så går jeg over med skikkelig synk. Og det har jeg gjort nå. Fikk jeg første runden med flytsynk 1 og en Alice shrimp, trodde det var det optimale, fikk ikke noe fisk, så gikk jeg over med stor tube og skikkelig synk. For nå også prøver jeg å gjøre det helt motsatt på siste runden, da jeg fisker helt med et rent flytesnøre og fisker helt lett i overflata. Håper at det kan bli noe da.
Although there wasn't much activity tonight, a new season will bring with it new opportunities. And Trond, being the pro he is, knows that, in spite of all the huge salmon he's caught, there's always the chance of hooking an even bigger one on the Orkla. If not this season, then the next. Women fly fishing for salmon is not the most common of sights along our rivers, and the few who've been bitten have often been attracted to salmon fishing by their partner and fish together with him. We're going to meet Anne, who, even though her husband is a salmon fisherman, fishes just as much together with her girlfriends or by herself.
Jeg har laksefiske I blodet. Fra jeg var lita, og så møtte jeg min mann, og han fisket laks, og det en stor interesse hos begge. Og vi fisker mye sammen, felles interesser på det, og jeg drar gjerne på laksefiske alene, eller sammen med Anita. Det mange jenter som fisker etter hvert, men veldig mange fiske har gitt seg med mannen sin på fiske, og ikke har det I seg fra før. Like bra begge deler, men det viktig å få flere jenter med. Å lære seg fluefiske og lære seg laksefiske, det en fantastisk hobby. Og ikke minst fluebinding om vinteren, så det en helårshobby.
It's the first week of June, and a huge area of rain has moved in over the valley. June rains are cold, and this makes conditions difficult for the fishermen, but good for the fishing. The increase in water level, together with all the flavours and smells that are in the murky waters, seem to activate the migratory desires in the salmon that are in the estuary or out in the fjord. Anne's fishing with her friend Anita, and it doesn't take long for her to hook a salmon in the pouring rain.
Hei!
The great thing about fishing with a friend is that you can share your excitement and happiness with them.
Å faen. Og så da.
Men synes du den er klar da?
Hæ?
Er den klar? Den stein der, du ser den?
Jeg tenkte jeg skulle kjøre den litt hardt, for jeg tenkte jeg skulle vurdere den ut.
Du sier fra når du vil.
Ja, jeg sier ifra alltid. Mye veier den. Ta den inn, du.
Gratulerer.
Takk.
Vel fortjent, Anne.
Ja, fin fisk.
Gratulerer.
Ah,
Brukbart.
ja, brukbart.
During the night, the rain continues, and by morning, Orkla's changed dramatically. The powerful flood of brown water rushes forwards violently on its way to the sea. The sun breaks through, but there are still a few showers. Fishing's very difficult as the river's in flood and you have to wade through the woods to get to the edge of the river. And beyond the trees and bushes, the water's so deep you can hardly make your way forward. Poor visibility and the power of the water doesn't make deep wading any easier. This is really hardcore fishing. Our next fishing trip with Anne and Anita is in July. The water in the river is a bit warmer and the flow's more regular. You need quite a bit of equipment to fish efficiently and lots of lines. A salmon fisherman takes a great interest in his tackle. You can't really have too much with you. And if you're going to fish from the other side of the river and need to row across, you don't want to forget anything in the car. But salmon fishing isn't just about fishing. You get the chance to make a fire, cook food and coffee, and above all, you get to spend time with a good friend, which adds another dimension to the trip.
Det her smakte.
Anne and Anita take turns and fish the most interesting areas over and over efficiently. If you're fishing for running fish, then you need to spend a lot of time just fishing. Cast after cast, session after session, trip after trip. A long repetition, which for a non-fisherman might seem to be almost masochistic. Fishing's been slow for a while now, but in the end, Anne gets one of the fast-moving salmon to take her fly. When we hear her shout, the fish is about to be landed. The salmon's smaller this time, but for a salmon angler, every salmon is just as worthwhile and just as difficult to catch. You don't get to choose the size when you're fishing.
Yes!
Anne also fishes with her husband, and yes, there is an unspoken level of rivalry in the family.
Da jeg møtte mannen min, så fikk jeg endelig begynne å fiske igjen. Da var det noen som ville fiske sammen med meg, og da var det laksefiske, og mannen min har fisket laks så han var liten unge, og han hadde aldri kommet over 10 kilo. Så fisket vi sammen, og i 2003 så fikk jeg på en storlaks. Når jeg tok den storlaksen på 10,8 og slo familierekorden, så fikk jeg en trekopp av mannen min. Han graverte inn kilo og dato som et synlig bevis på at jeg hadde familierekorden. Jeg hadde rekorden i 5 år. Så ble jeg parkert med gubbens 12,5. Så nå er kampen i gang igjen. En liten intern familiekamp. Jeg skal slå den rekorden, altså. Den skal parkeres.
We're now going to meet Nissi, one of the most dedicated salmon fishermen in existence. He works for a few weeks every summer as chef to different groups of anglers and is dedicated to developing culinary adventures for his dinner guests. But when dinner's over, he changes quickly from his chef's uniform and goes hunting for Orkla's salmon. And Nissi has a salmon fishing session every night. This is a part of his life as a chef on the Orkla, an opportunity which adds spice to his work. It's difficult to compare his passion for cooking with his interest in salmon fishing, but there's something deeper and more intensive about Nissi's fishing. He gives 100% during every fishing session, with every cast, and the feeling's always genuine, leading to a few intensive hours of fishing during a summer night.
Så, ja, nu tar jag storlaxen. Orkla för mig som laxarv tycker jag är jättebra. Och framförallt 2 saker. Den första saken, det är inte en jättestor älv. Men däremot innehåller den jättestora laxar. En laxälv som man kan alltså täcka för en som inte behöver vara världsmästare att kasta. Utan kastar man någorlunda bra så täcker man de största polerna här lätt från om man vadar ut, allt från att stå på strand. Det bästa som jag sagt är storleken på älven, storleken på fisken.
Nissi has fished a lot of salmon rivers, but the Orkla's the one that attracts him most. What's so special about Nissi is that he's had 2 really poor seasons, but he still goes out every evening with the same enthusiasm, always able to find new energy. A lot of people would lack motivation after several nights of unsuccessful fishing, but Nissi has a picture in his mind, the memory of a giant salmon. On the 15th of June 2011, Nissi caught a fantastic 14-kilo salmon here in Storås, and that fish is what keeps him going. This is what makes salmon fishermen special, even more so when it comes to Nissi. We can spend lots of time and energy on our fishing without constantly being rewarded. But when that reward does come, it can be really, really big. This helps us to keep up our optimism year after year, as we know what awaits us. And really experienced fishermen, like Nissi, who've caught very large salmon through the years, have a high level of patience. 2 disappointing seasons don't matter, because I can hook my next giant salmon tonight.
Man spejar som en hök Om man ska se någon fena eller... Och ibland är det riktigt dött länge, då går man liksom bara, ja, vad ska man säga? Och tror varje kast att man, för varje kast är man närmare ett napp.
We leave Nissi fishing one of his favourite beats in Storås. The sun's going down and evening moves slowly towards a summer night. We can see a dark silhouette working a fly rod evenly and consistently. A step, a new cast, and just a bit closer to the next giant salmon.
Det var rätt klart i vattnet, så det är svårt med flugval.
Absolut. Man fiskar ju gärna med orangea flugor med mycket flash och så när det är högt vatten. Men vad ska man fiska med när det är klart och högt?
Ja. Det löser. Vi testar lite.
Ja. Han får gå på magkänsla som alltid. Ja.
A week salmon fishing on the Orkla with a group of friends. That's what fishing looks like for a lot of Swedish people who visit the Norwegian salmon rivers year after year, with Orkla being especially popular.
Kolla storstenen är under vatten. Gröna stenarna kommer leverera nu. Under vatten båda två.
We're joining Michael and his son David on their fishing trip. Michael's a very experienced salmon fisherman, and for many years he's fished with his friends during July, sometimes returning in August as well. During July, the group rent a cottage right by the river, which allows them to fish whenever they want, round the clock. It's great to be able to share your deep interest in fly fishing with your son. It really adds something extra to the fishing.
Det är ganska speciellt att få fiska med sin pojk. Och nu är David 24 år och vi har fiskat många år ihop. Han började faktiskt med laxfiske direkt. Jag tog med honom till Mörrum några gånger. Första gången var han 11 år. Då hade jag en flytväst på honom. Och mycket riktigt i en av de strida polerna, 31an var det, så halkade han ju till och far ner för forsen där. Jag fick tag i flytvästen och fick upp honom på land igen, så det gick ju fint. Jag tror det var året därpå, då hade han ju fått lite kontroll på linan och fick ut några meter. Vi stod i pol 5 i juni. Han hade fått sitt första 12-fotsspö. Han stod där och snubblade ut linan. Rätt så det är så drar han på en riktigt stor fin fisk. Han stod ju utvardad där nedanför ön i pol 5, norra sidan. Jag vadade ut till honom och vi höll på med den laxen fram och tillbaka, både uppströms och nedströms och hit och dit. Och laxen avslutade kampen med ett riktigt luftsprång där han smällde av tafsen i luften faktiskt. Så det var 1-0 till laxen. Men sen har David tagit många laxar här uppe på Lo på Orkla.
Har du sett något?
Nej, det är lugnt.
There's a long week ahead with lots of fishing and lots of discussions about tactics and flies. You must have a good tactical plan, and the more difficult the fishing, the more there is to discuss. You have to have a theory for your fishing that you believe in, otherwise your fishing will be unsuccessful. Michael has his tactics ready and always fishes single-mindedly. He believes in every cast, which is the only way to be a successful fisherman. There are lots of casts, but sightings of salmon are few and far between. A lot of salmon anglers lose heart in this situation, but there's only one way to catch a fish. Have the fly in the water, preferably the right fly at the right time, in the right place. Small changes in water level can have a major effect on the fishing, when the level's just risen a little. There wasn't so much water, but it changes the fishing, because some of the spots you didn't have much faith in can now hold fish. This is a fairly short stretch of deeper water. The turbulence from the rapids upstream creates a perfect shelter for salmon. This gives them a sense of security, and they can rest a while on their way upstream. Even though this is a short stretch, it's worth the walk to fish through the pool now and again, because it only needs one bite to reward the fisherman for his labours, and Michael knows this as he fishes efficiently through the deep part of the pool.
Ja, där satt den. Härligt! Fantastiskt alltså. Mycket härligt. Det är en sån adrenalinkick så det är inte sant. Det är en blandning av mycket märkliga känslor. Lycka i hugget, direkt rädsla, oro, spänning. Det är otroligt många känslor på en gång. Och efteråt blir man bara lugn och lycklig. Fantastiskt. Den är rätt klar den här. Tror jag faktiskt.
In between all the long fishing sessions, there's time to tie your favourite flies. This is very important for Michael, who has very definite views about what a good salmon fly should look like. It's very pleasant to be able to take a break from the fishing, tie some flies, and drink coffee with David. Perhaps the new flies will improve their chances.
Mm. Nu är det ju juli och då är det läge att ha kamouflerade flugor. Brunt och grönt. Brunt och grönt och tunt. Slimat. Det brukar leverera. Ja!
The take comes, hard, distinct. It feels like a really good fish. But the rushes are a bit short, even if it feels like a good fish. It's not behaving like a salmon.
En riktigt stor öring.
Sea trout, which used to be common in Orkla, have now become rare. But there are still some, and they're still very beautiful. During his time as a salmon fisherman, Michael's experienced quite a few exciting fights, but there's always one which is extra special. And it doesn't always have to be the biggest fish you remember. It can be something else which makes the memory special.
en speciell laxfight, det är faktiskt här. Och det var inte så länge sedan, det var förra året. Jag fiskade mitten av den här poolen och såg längre ner på nacken en stor lax visa sig ett par gånger. Och kastade på den, hände ingenting. Så då vevade jag upp och sprang upp till fossen och mötte den en gång till. Och lyckades dra på den. Efter några minuters givande och tagande här uppe så bestämde den sig för att lämna arenan. Grejen är att vi har ungefär 300-400 meter fors här nedanför. Och jag har sagt i många år här, en dröm att få springa efter en lax ner för forsen. Ner till nästa polo. Förra året fick det ske. En fin 7,5 kilos hona som i raketfart fick mig att hoppa som en tibetansk bergsget på stenarna där. Och min pojk David i hälarna med filmkameran på. Och vi lyckades få upp den här fisken. Så det var väldigt minnesvärt och spännande.
Det var en grym fisk. Ja. Och som den sög i. Ja. Och vi såg den komma.
Precis.
Orkla som laxälv är en älv jag gillar väldigt skarpt. Och dels är det ju fantastiska miljöer, det är bara att titta sig runt omkring här. Sen tycker jag poolerna är väldigt spännande, ganska tekniska med mycket stenar och strömmar. Och man får ofta tänka till lite grann för att lyckas.
There's a lot of activity in the pool, especially around the area where the sea trout took. Every time a pass is made over the spot, fish show themselves. This pool feels very interesting.
Ja, där sitter den!
Got it! Exactly the same spot as the sea trout. And this time it feels like a salmon.
Sunray shadow.
Another week's fishing on the Orkla is coming to an end, and for the moment sunshine has been replaced by heavy rain. Some of the group have given up, but that idea doesn't exist in Michael's mind. He carries on fishing, trying to find just the right fly. This is his tactic for perfect fishing. Find the right fly for the conditions of the moment. It's time to meet another of Orkla's guests, namely Werner, from as far away as Germany. He fell in love with a river and returns year after year to spend several weeks fishing. Sometimes he's by himself, sometimes with a friend, his son or a larger group.
Well, if you ask me about the Orkla, for me it's the ultimate fly fishing salmon river in the world. And I tell you, I fished all over the world, but the combination of the fast rapids, the beautiful pools in this lovely valley is a river which is actually made for fly fishing. And that's why I come back here year after year, and I enjoy it so much, and I wouldn't trade it in for anything else.
Werner has a different and exciting attitude to his salmon fishing from the point of view of his normal daily life.
Well, there are many reasons I love salmon fishing. First of all, it's like everybody does. I love the nature, I like to be with the river, I like to become one part with the river and with the fish and everything around it. But for me, being a doctor, my life is completely about control and about responsibility and about doing everything right at any time. And when you operate on people, you have no choice to make a mistake. There's no way you can do a mistake. And that's why you have everything 100% under control. With salmon fishing, you have nothing under control. You do everything right, the conditions are perfect, the fly is fishing perfectly in the water, and still the fish wouldn't take. And that is an experience I'm not really used to, but I love it. It's a challenge, it's something which really takes my heart and is something which also keeps my mind free. And when I do salmon fishing, I enjoy that feeling, not having any responsibilities and having no control about what I'm doing. And that is something I really appreciate and gives me that special extra what I love to be out here.
Remember that salmon fishing unites so many different people from all over the world. The common factor, of course, is salmon, and our fascination with this fantastic fish is what gives energy to salmon anglers. A lot of fishermen have their favourite flies, but Werner has an unusual and interesting view about choosing flies.
When you ask me about my favourite fly, I would say something which a lot of my colleague salmon fishers will kill me for. I think the fly is not important. I think it's the confidence you fish the fly, that is important. And when the fish are on, they take any well-presented fly, and the presentation of the fly, I think, is much more important than the fly itself.
This is Werner's favourite pool. You can tell that from the catch statistics. His fishing week consists of a rolling timetable with lots of pools. He sometimes misses a few sessions to rest, but never when he's at this pool. For some reason, you have a greater faith in your fishing skills when you fish a pool where you've previously been successful.
This pool is my favorite pool because it always holds big fish. Even though itself it's a very small and intimate pool, it seems to be a home for big monsters, and over the years we've been extremely successful here, and that's why it's my favorite place to fish on the Orkla.
Fishing has been fairly slack, and sometimes you might despair, but once again, it's this, just this, which is the delight of salmon fishing. You can't control the salmon, and it doesn't help to think that you deserve a fish. Salmon follow the laws of nature and have no idea how hard you fished so unsuccessfully. And all the experience you've built up through days of salmon fishing can sometimes seem meaningless. But it's not the case that chance decides who catches a salmon. Luck is there as one factor, but in the long run, the more experienced salmon fisherman will always catch more fish, and Werner knows that.
Not bad. Not bad for this time of the day.
And suddenly one evening, after several unsuccessful days, it's on, a salmon, at last. And it feels like a good one. Night comes, and it was one of the final casts of the evening that gave him this really fine salmon. So once again, Werner's experience pays off. A lot of people fish with friends, but there's a large group of salmon fishermen who prefer to fish by themselves. Letting stillness and nature take hold of your body and soul adds a further dimension to salmon fishing. And Odd Sigurd is a person who enjoys fishing alone. We meet him on a beat in the upper reaches of Orkla. The landscape and countryside here is majestic, and in the Rennebu area, Orkla shows off the wide variety of its character. There are narrow canyons and fast-flowing rapids interweaved with wide, slow-moving stretches. For the lone fisherman, the best thing here is that you can always find a place where you can fish alone. These are Odd Sigurd's local waters. The beat he's fishing now brings back special memories as he spent his childhood just here on the river.
Nå står vi altså på Hol. Det er jo her jeg vokser opp, bokstavelig talt også. Den gården jeg kommer fra ligger ca. 50 meter fra bredda her. Så det var naturlig at det var på Hol jeg startet fisk, laks da. I tidlig barndom så var det sluk og mark det gikk i. Helt til for 10-15 år siden jeg stjal enhånds rødstanger til far min. Jeg tenkte jeg måtte prøve laksfiske med fluestang jeg også. Det var på september. Det var ikke helt lovlig, men det har jeg glemt nå. Så jeg har en vid mennflue liggende og sleng på bordet. Så jeg knøt på den, sprang ut i elva og tok en laks. Da var det gjort. Sesongen etterpå kjøpte jeg meg min første fluestang, og etter det har jeg bare ballet på seg. Jeg har mange fine fiskeminner her fra vallet her. Jeg har tatt laks, så tidlig som 10 minutter etter premieren i 2008. Det var en god opplevelse så langt opp i elva. Og mange store lakser har vært tatt etter den tida. Senest siste uke, da tok jeg en på knappe 15 kilo i hølen bakom meg her. Det var en artig opplevelse.
Odd Sigurd likes to travel around alone, hunting salmon in different pools. He doesn't stay very long at each spot, changing pools and preferring to return to the same place later. He doesn't have day-long sessions. He has periods of intensive fishing when he feels he's in the right mood, combined with periods when he doesn't fish at all. It's been difficult to get to grips with the salmon for a while now, but a little rain has turned the river a delicate whisky brown, and Odd Sigurd feels the time's ripe for fishing. This is a fine grilse. They've started to move between pools thanks to the change in water conditions. And it's these changing conditions which makes the fish more likely to bite.
Yes.
Just because you're fishing by yourself doesn't mean your mind is empty. Odd Sigurd's busy during his fishing session.
Når jeg fisker, som oftest så prøver jeg å ha et visst overblikk over hølen, så at den har liksom det dødsynet, at du ser på siden av det, hva som skjer på siden av det og nedenfor det. For den minste bevegelse i strømmen kan jo avsløre at der står det en laks. Faktisk min personlige rekord ble tatt på det viset.
The intensity of his fishing almost certainly means that he has a theory for his fishing which he believes in. Every salmon you catch adds to your stock of experience and knowledge. But as you don't normally catch large numbers during a season, you can improve your knowledge by studying other fishermen's theories.
Min taktikk når jeg kommer til å fiske laks, det er å variasjon. Det er det viktigste egentlig man kan gjøre når man fisker. Ikke kjøre med samme stanga, samme snøre, samme flua hele tiden. Prøv å fiske litt variert. Både med flytesnor og synkesnører i forskjellige synkegrader. Alt etter hvor dypt det er og hvor langt ned i vannlaget du vil. Når jeg fisker, så kjører jeg med 3 eller 4 stenger, har med meg på hver tur. Det er ikke alltid jeg bruker alle, men det gjør noe fiske med et smidig. Jeg slipper å bruke så forbannet mye tid på å tenke på hvordan snøret skal, og i hele tatt bruke tid på å ha på nytt snøre.
We leave Odd Sigurd on his favourite beat, haul, where he carries on fishing through the pool in his efficient and intensive way. It's not very often, especially among salmon fishermen, that the family comes along on the trip. But every summer, Morten, from Denmark, brings his. He's succeeded in finding a way to both fish intensively and to spend time with his family, so that everyone has a good time by the river.
Jeg synes jo, det er fantastisk hyggeligt at have familien med på fisketur. Min egen interesse for fiskeriet startede jo ved, at mine forældre og min onkel tog mig med på fisketur til Norge her. Og det er nogle af de gode oplevelser, jeg har fået dengang. De muligheder vil jeg gerne give videre til min familie også. Det er jo sådan, at det er jo ikke altid, at de holder til en hel dag, men så er det jo godt, at man lige kan sætte sig op og lave lidt mad og grille nogle kyllingelår eller grille nogle pølser og hygge sig med det. Og så får far lov til at fiske lidt i mellemtiden.
Favourite fly with a special connection to the family?
En speciel flue i mit sortiment her, GP. Det var den flue, som jeg fik min første laks på. Så den har sådan en, selvom jeg egentlig ikke har nogen favoritflue, så hvis jeg ligesom skal pille en ud og sige, jamen den har en speciel historie, så er det den, sådan en lidt stor størrelse 4-6 GP her. Den har sådan en lidt speciel værdi for mig. En anden ting, der var sjovt ved den flue, det var, at min søn, hans første laks, den tog han også netop på sådan en GP her.
Morten always has well-defined tactics for each new session, and the choice of fly plays an important part. He's imaginative and willing to try flies that most salmon fishermen would keep in the box, if they ever got into the box.
Det er ikke koldt, men det blæser noget. Men eftersom det ikke er koldt, så tror jeg ikke, vi skal fiske så dybt egentlig. Men jeg vil prøve noget helt nyt, som jeg aldrig har prøvet før, og det er at fiske med sådan en lille nymfe her.
It's a cloudy autumn day with a fresh wind. There's rain in the air, but just now it's dry. There were lots of salmon in the pools in August, but a good number of fresh salmon are still coming. This makes fishing in August both complicated and exciting. The rain felt close yesterday, but now it's here. Early morning and the rain-filled mist is hanging heavily over the valley. Getting up for early morning fishing doesn't feel tempting, but the pool's rested during the night, which makes it all the more interesting to fish a virgin pool, as the Norwegians say.
Oi.
It's cold and damp, but what does it matter, because it's on the hook at last, and it feels like a really good salmon.
Det, som jeg vældig godt kan lide ved augustfisket, det er jo, at man ved, at der er vældig mange laks i elven at fiske på. Så man har sådan mere ro til at eksperimentere med forskellige metoder, riffling, hitch, tørflue. Der er frit slag, man kan prøve alt muligt. Der er som regel rigtig god plads ved elven også. Der er ikke så mange folk, og fiskepresset er lavt, og der er en anden stemning. Jeg har fisket mange gange i august. Nogle vil selvfølgelig sige, at der er mange farvede fisk i elven. Ja, der er mange farvede fisk i elven, men man kan jo vælge at sætte de farvede fisk ud igen. Laksen er jo en vældig speciel udfordrer at have. Der er så mange forskellige elementer i laksefiskeriet. Det er så uforudsigeligt, så man kan ikke på forhånd sætte sig ned og regne ud, hvis jeg gør sådan og sådan, så fanger jeg en laks. Man er nødt til at være tålmodig, man er nødt til at stå på, man er nødt til at blive ved med at tro på det, selvom det virker umuligt. Så der er sådan et element af, at man skal overvinde sig selv, for at man fanger en laks. Den skal naturligvis ud igen. Så. Ja, den er lige omkring 90. Den er alligevel nok tættere på en 8-9 kilo. Fantastisk. Det var jo lige essensen af laksefiske. Mindst som man venter det, så sker det. Og det gjorde det igen.
After the rain, a dry day. We might even get some sunshine. By midday, the last clouds have disappeared, and the sky is clear and sunny. In the middle of the pool, the salmon's been showing interest in the fly every time Morten has fished over it. But despite this interest, it won't take the fly. It seems to be a good time for an experiment, so Morten ties on the bomber again. It didn't help when the weather was cloudy, but this sunshine should be just the thing for it. Amazing! The salmon takes firmly at the first cast, and on a free drifting bomber just as it landed. So just when conditions are at their worst, Morten chooses a fly that many would think makes fishing even more difficult. But his tactics are successful, and the result, a large Orkla salmon for all to see.
Den store skygge, som bomberen den kaster ned igennem vandet, ned på bunden, det er noget, som provokerer laksen også. Så jeg tror, at for at have succes med tørfluefiskeriet, så må der temmelig meget lys til. Gerne helt klar solskin. Jeg har flere gange oplevet, at laks er gået op og taget den her bomber, og jeg har givet tilslag, og fisken er væk, eller jeg har givet tilslag, og laksen er på ganske kort tid, og så falder den af. Men her var den kroget perfekt. Sandsynligvis står laksen på forholdsvis dybt vand der, og den går op og tager. Så den kommer med høj fart og kroger sig selv. Jeg vil sige, at en laks fanget på bomber eller på tørflue, den er flere lakser fanget på vanlig vis værd. Det er den absolut. Første laks på tørflue, og så her på Vella. Helt fantastisk oplevelse. Bedre kan det ikke blive. Der er ikke noget at sige.
At the end of another autumn week, Morten can add yet another fight to those special memories. The first salmon landed on a dry fly.
Ja, jeg får begynne oppi der og se. Prøve oppi der med 1-3-5. Ja. Vi fisker høyere bak.
Autumn is now really here, so we make our way to the furthest reaches of Orkla and the mighty ravines at Stoin. Here we'll join the twins, Stein and Roar, for some enthralling and unusual fishing. The river runs through a deep and sometimes narrow ravine, and here Orkla provides some unusual fishing which few fly fishermen have experienced. Stein and Roar came here with their father from the age of 8 to fish for salmon, and a few years later they were fishing on their own. The fishing is similar to Indian fishing, where you creep down to the different spots, make a few casts and then leave. Sometimes you can go out on a rock and have enough space for a cast, but the river's deep here, so you can't wade and fish your way downstream. Some spots are best fished from above, while others can be reached from a very low position. One thing for sure, no spot is like the other.
Og fin elva. Ja, det er bra nå, ja. Litt konjakkfarge til jo.
Relaxation is a byword for Staines and rowers fishing. There are long periods of observation, a lot of movement from place to place, and then short but intensive fishing sessions. They often take turns in fishing the best spots. This tale has performed well when the water has been like this. It's Staines' turn, and he lets the fly sweep over the pool.
Der. Her står det reste, vær forsiktig. Han har sett dårlig. Han har ikke snudd seg ordentlig, så bare ta med ro, så kommer han opp I hølen. Han stod inne I djuprenna.
Ja, han gjorde det. Jeg fisket lenger og lenger ned.
Han er 7, så brukbar.
7-8 kilo, tror jeg.
Ja, det er ikke noe lite innlaks nå. Han er større enn det, ja.
Han rister, ja.
Men nå får han fra det, så nå kan du godt dra på litt.
Helst ikke ned, da.
Har ikke festet lina her nå?
Nå, det kan hende, ja. Prøv å legge sipress på den, da.
Til lina di litt rolig.
Nei, jeg kjenner
at du skal ha fått sipress på den, så du får den opp I hølen. Du skulle ha gått til på der, du.
Jeg skal prøve å få den mer på siden, så går den, tenker jeg.
Står og får oksygen der nå. Det tar at den går ned hvis du står her. Ja, den har jo kontakt med den.
Bare den oppover nå I hvert fall.
Du har fått den litt nærmere land her nå, så nesten litt oksygen da.
Jeg kan stå her, jeg.
Han er merket, radiomerking.
Ja, den ja. Ser du hvordan den ser ut?
Ja, han er skikkelig krok på den, svart fisk.
It's a coloured salmon that's come up early in the season. Landing the fish is difficult, but as usual they help each other.
Ja, jeg har målmann, jeg.
Jeg har det også.
Skal ut og ta den, eller? Hold den der, så kommer jeg og hjelper jeg.
This is a cock salmon, about 7 kilos, and it has a radio transmitter attached. The Norwegian Institute for Nature Research has been running several research projects concerning salmon on the Orkla. The purpose of the transmitter is to follow the migratory patterns of the salmon.
Kan jo komme opp en ny laks hver time oppå der nå, vet du, og stoppe den oppå der dem da.
Kan gå på den siden av han gjort.
Ja, jeg tror den går på øversiden nå, ja. Nå går jeg opp og kikker, jeg. Med livet som innsats.
Stain climbs up a cliff to get a better view over the pool. Sometimes he even climbs to the top of a tree to see the fish better.
Han stod borti renna da også. Ja, han kom opp I stad, tror jeg.
Roa hooks a salmon in exactly the same place as Stain. There could be several salmon lined up in front of the block of stone in the neck.
Skal ha den inn litt fort, jeg tror jeg.
It's a grilse, about 2 kilos. It's encouraging to see migrating fish this far up the river so late in August.
Ja, jeg har den ute igjen. Ja, jeg skjønner det.
What's so marvellous is that you can get a coloured fish when the season opens and a fresh fish during the last week of the season. Fish are moving upstream throughout the season, and they can move quickly towards the end.
Ja, det er ikke så enkelt å kaste når du står på sånne berg, da, så du må gjøre noe vrier. Så du legger lina oppi bergsprekk her, og så ut. Det fungerer.
When we return to the same spot, the river's risen quite a lot and turned brown. Perhaps not the best conditions, but better to have too much water than too little.
Strømmen drar over nå.
The brothers have changed places, and it's rowers' turn.
Begynner å nærme nå, den ikke? Ja, begynner å nærme seg nå, ja. Der! Arn! 7 kilo. Ja, godt og vel. Ja, de sto der, de skulle stå an, ja. Han kjentes tyngre ut, eller 7, ja. Jeg så den, jeg. 7,8 da. Skal ha classic-snella nå. Ja, jeg går ned og begynner å gjøre meg klar. Jeg spør ikke noe nedom her, nei, for da blir den tung hvis den legger seg på strømmen. Jeg kan stå her, jeg. Ja, jeg skal prøve å ta den inn oppi her. Jeg skal ut i et. Mye sa vi? Den er fort 7 kilo, ja. Den er, ja. Kjentes ut som den var litt trygt i. Nei, den er bedre blank, vet du. Den er helt blank. Den er i alle fall 7. Den er bred, så. Du får etter å slepe den forbi her nå. Har du? Ja, har den. Ja, bred, ja. Den er 80, ja. Legg stanga her, ja. 8 kilo den i alle fall. Har du den? Ja. Ja, faen, det er fin den her da. Ja, kjempefin. Ja, det er holaks, tror jeg. Det er holaks, ja. Der får den.
There couldn't be a better ending to a fishing trip. A large silvery salmon furthest up the river at the end of August.
Ja, det var bra å ikke tok løs kroken. Det var dårlig av tunga di.
Even though we've accompanied some of Orkla's salmon anglers for a couple of seasons, it feels as though we're none the wiser. There's no simple definition of a salmon angler. You can't even explain how a salmon angler's mind works. And you definitely can't explain the salmon angler's emotions when a salmon has finally taken the fly, or when he hasn't caught a salmon for several years. So why bother trying? Why not, like the fishermen we met along the Orkla, just enjoy the river, the fishing, the salmon? If you're already a salmon angler, or about to become one, then you don't need an answer. Salmon fishing isn't a science, it can't be analysed. We find ourselves in a constant state, an existence in parallel with a normal life, in a deeper dimension than reality. In other words, we're salmon anglers, here, now and forever.